back. I am a little bit later in the afternoon. I had to let Sam do things with his family, and he didn't know anything about Tesla and all that stuff. So I figured I would just do this on my own. So this is just going to be, just a show dedicated just to, my experience 1 month with the car that I've, know nothing about prior. I mean, I never really paid attention to it. Uh, the story behind me getting a Tesla was with my kids, and I knew that my older son was big into Elon Musk and Tesla. He thought they were cool cars were super cool. So I told him I was like, "Hey, we'll just pull over, and do a test drive, and let them experience what it feels like to be in a Tesla or whatever." I didn't really care. I just was like, "Okay, I'll test drive it, drive away, in my regular car." So I'd never driven a Tesla. I'd never even, I guess I've been in one time. And so I test drove it. And the guy, the Tesla guy that was test driving it with me, he was in the passenger seat. And while I was driving, he was just like, "This is a phone on wheels." And now that I've been in it for about a month and kind of gotten used to it, I just kind of figured he was absolutely right. I mean, it's so like app friendly and it's super intuitive through the app and you can I mean, you have remote start. You can start your car from, the parking lot or, do certain things. I think the newer cars you can do that kind of thing with the app. I know that I drive 10-year-old vehicles. Like I don't drive the brand new cars. I mean, this was something brand new for me, but anyways, I got done with the test drive and I just wanted to see what kind of pricing it was, and it was pretty fair, and so I jumped right in. I mean, long story short, I went to the Tesla website and they have an order for $250 that you have to put down, and then you do the whole financing thing, and then it's super easy to go through the app. I will give them that. Uh, there's two ways that you can obviously go through the Tesla process. You finance it or you lease it. So with financing it, I saw that it was a lot more expensive to finance it, but you can drive it as much as you want. It's yours. You finance it, you're owning it at that point. But with leasing, I'd never leased a vehicle before, and so basically you can pick between 10, 12, and 14,000 miles per year, and I think the one that I signed up for was 3 years for 10,000 miles because of my schedule and because I don't really go anywhere that often. I figure, "Oh my gosh, that's manageable." But for a person that is actually using that as their daily driver and, someone that's gonna go work and back, and putting miles on their car, I don't know, maybe you get more mileage, or you just finance it rather than leasing. So I wanna, go through an argument that people have said that, these Teslas depreciate very rapidly, I've seen these videos on YouTube where this guy buys a Cybertruck and they go, "Oh, I got to get rid of it before I lose my value." And the other arguments are, just all these other cars that just depreciate. Even, one of my other coworkers, not Sam, but someone else, he'd bought a Model Y and he's just like, a Model Y, back in 2020 or 2021, it was, falling apart or whatever. I can't speak on that. I didn't really want to get into Tesla just because one, I felt like it was out of my price range for one, and two, they were just a brand new anything. This happened with COVID. Anything that comes out brand spanking new, give me a little bit, and let's just see what the verdict is a couple years later. And I felt like Tesla had been through a couple years of kind of trial and error and messing up in this and figuring out on that, and I just felt like hey, Tesla's been around a while. I think it'll be all right. So I like the price agreement that I find that I leased amount. Obviously, it gives me 3 years to kind of dip my toe, see if I even like it. So far, as of right now, at this very moment, I don't have any issue with it. I really would like to take it long term past the 3 years. I don't know what I'm going to do if I want to finance the car that I already own or lease. or if I want to just, get a 2029 model, because obviously it's, or 2028 or whatever the 3 years is when it's up, I have the option to either, finance the car now that I lease, or I can walk away from it and then pick something brand new, or, whatever. So, I mean, that's 3 years into the future. I'm not going to be able to predict and Nostradamus the situation. So, my advice, because people don't really think outside the box like I do, treat Tesla, if you're financing and you want to own a Tesla and you're worried about the depreciation and, you're scared and nervous about owning a Tesla, take take these words, and I want to, kind of imprint this on your brain. If you want to own a Tesla, treat it like a long-term IRA or a long-term investment, something that you can hold on to and you don't have to worry about depreciation. I mean, if you own it and you like it and you love it and you're enjoying the features, you love the convenience of charging it in your garage rather than going to gas stations, or you get sick and tired of oil changes, or, just whatever the plethora of reasons of why you want to get a Tesla, finance it, but don't think that you can turn around in 5 years. I mean, this is something that you are going to fall in love with and that you can appreciate it for the longevity. You don't have to worry about depreciation because you're not looking to, sell it back into the market and get your brand new, 2030 Tesla. I mean, you can do whatever you want. I'm just saying, like, a lot of people have this, like, oh no, I can't sell my car back. And, just doing this whole, like, craziness. I mean, if you are that worried about depreciation, then you need to lease it. You don't, take any of that, equivalency. Tesla is taking that equivalency at that point. So basically, the way that I've kind of structured it in my head, because I've seen so many of these videos about like how they got a Cybertruck or whatever have you, and they're just like worried about the depreciation of the car, then you need to own it. You need to own the car for long term. Then you don't have to have that in the back of your mind. Oh no, the depreciation and all this other stuff. I mean, if you want to sell the car for whatever reason, then you have to know that full well going into it, unless things change, which things might change in the future where they're more of a thing that, is going to hold its value. But for right now, at this very moment, you have to know going into it that you're not going to get that appreciation that you bought it. I mean, it's just like any other car, but apparently Tesla is a little bit worse than most cars, the gas cars or whatever you want to call it. So it's just my advice. I was thinking about that, and I was just like, I get so sick and tired of people not thinking it through before they. I mean, a lot of people, they just impulse buy, I guess. I don't know, without fully thinking about it. And this is more for the people like me, where I had no idea what the heck I was doing. I mean, I was just jumping in and just I was like, okay, I'll try it out and see what happens. I mean, I thought it was really super cool, and now that the novelty's kind of worn off a little bit, it's still fun to drive. It's still cool to, be in something that is all brand new to me, but it doesn't feel like that, like, first day when I first got it. I mean, I was super excited and I should have, anyways, long story short. So, point number two, I'm going to talk about FSD, which is full service driving. Elon Musk is trying to put out, these future version 14. Right now, I think we're at like 13.7 or 13.8. I can't remember the exact numberage. I could look it up on my phone, but main point that I'm trying to make is, as of right now, I don't know what version 14 is going to look like. I have no idea what, I mean, they could say and promise the world that these features will be included on 14, and I'd like to believe that 14 is going to include all these features, or I have no idea. I'm trying to go into this blind. As of right now, this is when I'm talking about 13 point whatever it is. I really should know the number. I don't want to get fact checked and say, "Oh, well, it wasn't 13.7; it was 13.8 or whatever." I don't care. Right now, at this very moment, we're in September 18th, 2025. And right now, I'm going to be talking about the full service driving, full self driving, or whatever the acronym stands as of right now. If they fix this in version 14, all power to for version 14. The things that I've noticed and that nobody's talked about that I know about, from all the major YouTubers that are talking about full service self driving is, does a car that's coming towards me? I had this happen 2 days ago, and in similar circumstances, does the software and the lidar and all the cameras, do they pick up the car's blinker? Because that's a game changer. If if a car has a blinker on, it's signifying that it's about to turn, it's about to get in your way, and the camera doesn't pick up human instinct, from what I can tell. And there's a lot of human variables when you're on the road because basically you've got cars, and especially when you got poor drivers that just thread that needle all the time. I mean, they'll be in the left-hand lane and then they'll exit when there's like 4 lanes of traffic that they're like, "Oh, I need to exit right now." I've seen that a million times. Is the Tesla going to be, aware of that situation, or is it going to lock up and be like, "I don't know what to do in this circumstance"? This car was in the left-hand lane. I'm in the second lane and it cuts right in front of me to exit or whatever. What's going to happen? I mean, this is what I hope that version 14, I have no idea, like I've said before, the the smallest thing that I'm talking about right now is, does it recognize a car's blinker? Because if the the cameras, the lidar, the computer software, the intelligence, or whatever I'm talking about, I have no idea what interprets the chip, to make the Tesla go, okay, the car's got a blinker. It's got it signifying that it's about to take a right-hand turn because I'm right behind it. Hopefully, it can kind of slow down. Obviously, the car in front of me is called the lead car, and so basically, it's going to slow down. But what if it's on the opposing side of the traffic, and it's on the other side, and it's about to, it's got the signifying that it's about to, go right in front of me. Obviously, the car in front of me is obviously going to register that the car is in front of me. It's going to, have my Tesla slow down. But I think, it's one of those things that I have not noticed that the FSD has realized what a blinker is. This brings me to my third point. Obviously, my second point with FSD is, does it recognize a school zone? I went through a school zone and I kid you not, I had to take it off the FSD at that moment because it did not register. It went the normal speed limit. Now, there is a setting on the Tesla, the infotainment center, that you can give it improvising like 10%, 20%, 40%, to kind of go with the flow of traffic. So you got the speed limit at 40, it will go 5%, faster than the speed limit just to kind of flow with you don't want to go 40 and then have a lot of cars behind you because then you're going slower than then you're kind of like that clog in traffic, and you don't want to be that way. You want to find that nice balance, and so you're giving Tesla or the intelligence or whatever the variance to be able to go 5% faster, or kind of in that range of going with the flow of traffic. My point is that you've got a school zone, and if you got a school zone, it flashes yellow. It goes back and forth, yellow, 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 yellow. Now, Tesla probably recognizes that as a yield. Obviously, it's a yield at that point. I haven't been detoured away from my, regular speed limits, probably 40 or whatever, and then all of a sudden the school zone is like 20. I'm continuing going 40. Now, one, I don't want to run over a kid. That just sounds like a bad day. Two, uh, I don't want to get a ticket. Like, I don't want a cop just, doing their little speed trap thing. And three, it's just like I really just don't want to be involved in any of that situation. So one thing that I've noticed that you should look out for, and you obviously will be aware of it when you use FSD, and if this feature hasn't been patched up or whatever with version 14, or even with a further variant of 13, is they need to recognize with the lidar and with the cameras or whatever, however it interprets the world, that it needs to, recognize school zones in their system so it can go, okay, now we have it. Because what I think it does is it uses the Google Maps or whatever from the navigation. I don't know if Tesla has their own version of maps or whatever. I'm not that versed yet. Sorry. I know Tesla fans are probably booing at me because I don't know this by now, but it's got a, GPS. It has a speed limit sign and it goes off of that data. There is no data to show that I'm entering a school zone. And on top of that, during what hours? Obviously, school zones aren't all day. They only go in, in the morning or, in the afternoon when the school kids, get released. And so there's a lot to figure out with just that, one little point right there. So if I was you, you're thinking about getting a Tesla or you already have a Tesla, you probably already know this because you probably encountered the same situation. We got to figure out, Elon or whoever the engineers are at Tesla needs to figure out if the computer and the software, the intelligence, whatever, can figure out a school zone because that's a big deal. I'm going to be turning it off during school zones. If I enter a school zone, I do not want to run over a kid, bad day, get a ticket, bad day. It's just an all around kind of a, frown face, thumbs down kind of situation at that in that juncture. I mean, granted, I don't go through many school zones, because it's just one of those things. I don't live near a lot of schools, and most of the schools are tucked away from, my normal routes of where I usually go throughout the day or night or whatever you want to call it. So I don't really have to worry about it that bad, but I can only imagine that this is not a secret. A lot of people know about this, and hopefully it will be solved. Uh, I already touched on this a little bit, but I didn't go into detail. But the speed limit and the traffic flow, I think it's a cool idea that you can, bend the variance of how fast or slow you want your Tesla to go above the speed limit if need be. I mean, obviously, there is that feature where you can hit the gas pedal and it's still in FSD or autopilot or whatever, but you can speed it up if you need to, have that snap of a finger acceleration and the computer's not picking up why you need to accelerate all of a sudden. You're taking that human intervention. You're not taking it off FSD at that point, but you're just telling the car you need to speed up right now because something, is going down. I've had to do it a couple times where I'm just like, wait a minute, there's a car, that I need to kind of go around or, whatever have you. And I hit the gas pedal and it didn't take it off FSD. And it gives you a little warning that says, you're still in FSD, will not brake, when you're hitting the accelerator. It's just trying to give you a safety message. But my main point to this whole thing is some of the speed limits are not authentic. Maybe they haven't been updated into the system. Speed limits change all the time. I don't know. But you really I mean, Tesla recommends, and this is what it says on the infotainment center. It says 40% is what you want that variant to be. I've turned it down to like 10%. 10% is like where you go like 4 over or whatever because if you're running, let's just say you're going 50 and a 40, a cop is going to look at you and just be like, what the hell? Why are you going that fast? Like, like I said, I don't want a speeding ticket. I want to, go with the flow of traffic. I don't want to be a clog in in traffic. I don't want to go too slow or too fast. But I don't understand why there's a 40% variant for the speed offset or whatever you want to call it. Like I said, I'm not well versed. So if Tesla people, you want to get on here and jump on me and, get in the comments, go for it. I'm all game to like learning how this whole system works. I'm 1 month in and, I've just tried to play around with it, just trying to understand it. But this is stuff that I've noticed. And like I said, with me being a newbie, at trying to understand all this stuff, I want, a community that, is like trying to teach each other, like in the Tesla, system gets better, with us talking about, all the faults and the problems that it has right now. So right now, I just want the speed limit variant to kind of be more in line with. I mean, I can understand where you're in on this major freeway and you've got everybody blowing past you, even though if you're going 4 or 5 over, if everybody's going like 5 or 6 over, you can turn that wheel on the right side of the steering wheel, the FSD button. Obviously, I'm not talking about the stock people that have the gear shifter on the right hand side of the steering wheel on the stock. I'm talking about like where I have a 2026 with the button and you can roll it up and you can, adjust the speed limit. I get that. But I just feel like the speed limit is not, precise enough to where it understands that it should read that on what I'm trying to get at, and this is kind of where I'm going with it. It should read it with the lidar, the intelligence, and the cameras and all that stuff. It should recognize the true speed limit, whether it's a construction zone. So the speed limit might be 70, but the GPS and the navigation and the intelligence that is getting gathering from the maps, it's not going to register a construction zone because obviously that's never going to register when Google Drive does their little like, okay, this is the speed limit. This construction zone is newer and more modern than the regular speed limit at 70. The construction zone might be 55. You blow past the construction zone at 55, guess what? It's a bad day when you get a ticket. I'm just saying. I don't know why I'm talking all gangster or whatever. But anyways, I just noticed this kind of stuff when I was driving, and I just wanted to kind of bring it up. That's why I made this Tesla video. I mean, it's kind of cool to show it off and just be like, "Oh, I bought a Tesla. I'm excited," and having Sam drive it was kind of fun. I'm gonna put it on the later portion of the video. This is just kind of like I've said before, 1 month review for new people, just to kind of get an idea of what kind of environment that you're going to get into. It's not just buying the car, but I bought accessories. Obviously, you do this with any car that you buy. You wanted to get weather mats, so the carpet, is obviously going to sink all that dirt, and it's just harder to clean those, rubber or yeah, plastic, type of weather mats on the, where you put your feet and get most dirtiest. You want to be able to get weather mats. Obviously, I'm going to show you a lot of B-roll of like I got this little storage compartment, and then you got this little storage compartment in the center console. Then you got the sunshade. So let's talk about the sunshade. It's kind of a underrated type of thing. So obviously the Tesla is electric. Obviously, you want to conserve battery degradation. You want to conserve your battery range for when you're going to a movie or you're going out to eat or you're going to work or wherever you're at, and you want a good battery percentage. So one thing that you need to understand is that when it's in the summer or the winter, you want to be able to precondition your battery. There's obviously the keep function. I'm going to put it on the video, and obviously you got that sunshade in the summertime. The summertime, you want to put that sunshade up so it will cool down your car a couple degrees, maybe 10 degrees at the most or whatever. And it just means that the AC is working less. Obviously, gas powered vehicles, I don't think it uses much more gas than if, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I just know with the electric battery, it will drain that battery a lot more faster. I don't know if I talk proper English. I hate when anyways, it will drain the battery a little bit more quicker. Maybe that's a better way of talking proper English. Get on English majors, get in there in the comments and tell me how to talk. Anyways, if if you run the AC, at the low speed and you have it blasting in your face, you're gonna, you know, degrade that range or the battery because you're running it pretty hard. So basically, that sunshade is gonna, keep your car happy, your battery happy. And I've used it, and I'm kind of noticed that it's a little bit quicker. A lot of uh, the moonroof, they have sunshades for that as well. I will definitely, we're getting to the end of the summer, so I'm not gonna really worry about it this summer. Obviously, it's pretty much for the most part, kind of cooling down. We're under 90s now. But next summer I'm definitely gonna get some sunshades for the moonroof because it's cool to look out, kind of the roof, invites more light. It's more, bright atmosphere, and it's kind of a nice little touch, but at the same end, when you got the sun beating down on it and you don't have a sunshade on the moonroof, then you're going to invite more heat inside the car, which in turn, makes your AC work a little harder. So definitely next summer for me, I'm going to get one of those moonroof sunshade things. But anyways, yeah, so basically invest in all the accessories that you feel necessary. There's the center console when you got the all the little compartments because it's kind of deep. And then you got the let's see, what else did I buy? I bought the Tesla little center console where you kind of lift up. It's just a nice little touch. And, I thought it would be kind of cool to have it more like it feels like it's part of the car that came with, but it's obviously a little Amazon little $10 little piece that you just put on your armrest. And it feels like it's got a little bit more cushion too. So I think that was kind of cool. But anyways, I'm not trying to sponsor anything. I just was like, it's part of the environment of buying a Tesla. You got to buy the accessories, and then the other thing is you you have the option depending on what car you buy. You got a mobile level one charger, which you plug into the wall, and basically it will charge at basically 10% in like 8 hours. And that's when I first bought the car. I didn't have level two yet charging yet, and I plugged it in and I went to 10%, where I drove it and used up 10%, and it said 8.5 hours. So, I mean, theoretically, if you go through 10%, which is like 40 miles or 50 miles, I don't know the calculations yet. But if you go through 10%, you're waiting 8.5 hours. When I did the exact same thing with the level two charger, 1 hour. It's a night and day difference. Now, granted, superchargers, you have to pay for it or you get part of a package or whatever have you. I don't know. But you can charge that same thing in probably a fraction of the time. I've never been to a supercharger yet, so I can't speak about that, but I just know they have ridiculous. It's straight hardwired from like a transformer. It's DC direct power. It's raw power. So basically, you're getting, a full charge in a fraction of the time. I mean, you can literally go from like 20% to 80% and basically, I don't know, 30 minutes or something. I don't know exactly. Like I said, I've never been to a supercharger. I've just kind of, wanted to watch a couple videos and like understanding, how it all works, but I can't speak on that behalf. But level one to level two charging is a game changer. Now, you pay for it. You pay about $420. That's when I bought it. I paid for that whole thing. And then on top of that, and I don't advise this because I don't want to, you know, uh, try to advocate for something that, could theoretically, shoot you in the foot, is I paid for a electrician to come in that has, kind of liability on the installation. So I wanted him to go and install a breaker, wire it up, make sure that, if anything were to spark or cause a fire or anything. Like I said, I wanted to do it myself initially because I like to work with my hands. I love doing things. I love, turning a screwdriver, powering a drill. It's so much fun to, scratch my head and, troubleshoot and do all that kind of stuff. But when I thought about the implications on what if, the hypothetical, a year, 2 years, 3 years down the road, I was just like, I don't want to take that chance. I don't want it on me. At least if the insurance comes to me and says what happened, I can be like, that guy installed it. Now, hypothetically, I mean, hopefully this never happens, but you get my point that you don't want insurance going, you installed that, 240 volts, 60 amp breaker, that wiring that wasn't safe or whatever. That's on you. That insurance is going to look at you and be like, hey, we're not covering this. You have the liability now. So basically, what I did was, you don't want to just get the installation, just because you can do it. You want to get the installation for peace of mind, knowing that if stuff goes sideways, then at least you can kind of, you know, reconcile with your insurance company if hypothetically there was a spark or anything stupid were to happen. I mean, like I said, hopefully nothing ever happens, but just like I said, peace of mind. It's just something that I thought about when I was wanting to do it. I got the charger and I was just looking at it. I was just like, you know what? What if? Anyways, past that, it cost me about $500 for that guy to, spend an hour to do it. I mean, it doesn't take long. It just costs a lot of money for an electrician that gets paid by the hour. It's kind of like a doctor, lawyer type of rate, type of situation. And I mean, it's it's like I've said before, it's just peace of mind and it's costly, don't get me wrong, but it's a total game changer. Now, another thing that you can do, people like to, just change the plug. And I think that that's a $300 type of charge versus a 500. So it's a 240 volt, little adapter that you can get with that level one charger. And then it charges it, probably to the equivalent. You just have to do a little research and, just watch other YouTube shows and see what the difference is. I'm like I said, I'm no electrician. I just, was looking at my different options. So you get a level one charger and it can take 240 volts, which is exactly what the level two that I have installed right now. It's 240 volts and it does about 11 kilowatts per hour. And when I was doing level one with 120, just a standard wall outlet, it was doing like 1 or 2 kilowatts. So it's really slow. It's a trickle type of charging. But what do you expect when you're doing the same phone charger or, any kind of household appliance like your blender or whatever that just goes into a wall outlet. So it's just the difference of that. Anyways, so yeah, it's just one of those things that you have to think about all these charges. Also Tesla, has premium connectivity. So you pay $100 a year for that. So you can get internet, so you can watch some shows in the back seat. You can stream off of the car or, have that, satellite type map and, certain other features. You can look at that, see if you like those features or not. You've also got FSD, which is $100 a month or $1,000 to buy it outright, depending on how you want to look at that. I mean, it's just your interpretation. If you don't even want FSD, you don't have to get it. Also there is windshield protection that was like $12 a month, and then tire protection for $16 a month. And then you can get, window tint. I don't think they come with window tint. You have to get that. They have a Tesla type of, third party kind of partnership or, any type of window tint has to go through Expel. And so that's costly. It's 500 to, upward kind of thing, depending on how many, windows you want tinted and stuff. And then, depending on if you live in the snow and all that, they got snow tires. I know that there's a package for like $3,500 for like snow tires or winter tires or whatever for like, icy conditions and stuff. I won't be driving my Tesla in the ice. Screw that. But just to be aware, I mean, look at all the different things. If you're looking to get into the Tesla, don't just think that you're getting a Tesla. You got to think beyond that and say, can I afford, window tinting or, the weather mats and all the extra stuff that you're going to have to buy for it. There's also, what else can you buy? There's just all sorts of different accessories and stuff, like I was saying earlier. Just before you even finance it or lease it or whatever, just look at everything. This would just be my advice. Obviously, I didn't take this upon myself. I just thought I was buying the car and that was going to be the end of the day. But no, there's a whole ecosystem or whatever that you want to include part of it. So just price it out before you even finance it or lease it. That would be my suggestion. And see if that is something that you can afford or, if that's comfortable for you, then all power to you. You're good to go or whatever. But just don't be surprised when you finance it or lease it and then you walk away going, I thought that was it, when there's all sorts of different other charges that are associated with the Tesla. So, anyways, I will get back to auto park and summon mode. Now, summon mode is kind of an interesting thing because no one's driving it. So the idea is that you hit summon mode when you're at like the front of like Home Depot or a movie or you're at work or whatever. You can hit a button on your app and you have the car come to you. Now, basically, it drives itself, no one in the vehicle. And the funny story, and this was just, it was just luck, or just, it's the most funniest story for me, at least personally. So I was at the Tesla dealership about to test drive, and I was standing in front of Tesla with my two kids and the guy that was gonna I mean not self, but I was gonna test drive it with. So he's showing me summon mode, and he hits the thing on his phone, and it says, "All right, it's about to come to you," or whatever. Summoning is happening or whatever. So it pulls out of the parking spot and it turns, to, go around all the parking area and all that stuff to, go through and meet us at the front. So it turns out of the parking spot and then it's waiting for, the truck, and the truck comes right off of the service road coming in like a bat out of hell and goes right where the Tesla. You could see the infuriation of the truck because it pulled out right in front of the Tesla, and the Tesla is obviously driverless. There's no one in there, and you can see this like truck guy just go getting all mad and angry at literally no one. It was the funniest thing. I mean, I was just laughing my butt off, just the it couldn't have happened at a better time because obviously it wasn't my Tesla. I had nothing to do with it. The guy was summoning it at the dealership. If something were go to sideways at that point, I would have, it would have had nothing to do with me kind of thing. But, from an outside standpoint and not knowing what summoning mode. And so it pulls out of the parking spot. The truck, is literally like, yeah, getting all mad at it because it pulls right, it comes in right off the expressway or whatever, off the service road, and pulls in really fast into the Tesla parking lot. And right, you could see it slam on its brakes right in front of the Tesla. It just pulled out of the parking spot. It was the funniest thing because for a fact that that guy was pissed and he had no one to be pissed at because it was driverless. It was too hysterical. So it finally got around it or whatever, and it finally picked us up at the front. It was just the funniest story in the world. But I don't know. I just never had a reason. I like walking to my car. It's just natural. And, I'm just kind of nervous about that whole, PTSD. I guess it was funny when it was, in the Tesla parking lot. It had nothing to do with me for liability reasons. But when it's, under my insurance is under my name and I hit the summon mode and it were to, anything were to happen, I don't know. I just feel weird about summoning it. So that's part of the FSD. If you're not aware, if you're not a Tesla guy or whatever, uh, auto park and summoning mode, and then obviously FSD, which is where it can take turns and it can negotiate all these complicated scenarios. That's part of FSD. Now autopilot can drive straight, keep you in your lane, cruise control at that point, but full self driving is when it can do everything, take you from point A to point B without doing anything. And it's kind of cool. But anyways, so auto park and summon mode are part of the FSD mode. Um, so autopilot was kind of interesting. I put it, obviously I had FSD because it was part of the trial type situation, but autopilot, when I put it on that feature, I don't know what it is. Maybe I was doing something wrong, but I had it to where I had an autopilot and I was leaving Sonic and I was going back home and I was thinking it was just cruise control and it would keep me in my lane. I would be able to, kind of take over when I needed to take turns and so forth. I knew that going in. But what surprised me, maybe, like I said, Tesla people get involved, comment, help me out, figure something out. It noticed these, traffic lights, even though they were green, my car was trying to stop at a green light. I don't understand. So FSD, it'll go through the green light, register as a green light. When it's red, it'll stop at a red, obviously. But autopilot was kind of an oddball because it would register a green light and then it would try to come to a complete stop at a green light. Obviously, that's a no go. I don't want to do that. So basically, what I'm trying to say is I haven't been on autopilot, since then. I'm just like, I don't know what to do with that information. Um, so that's something to kind of sort out in the comments. If, like I said, if anybody knows what the hell is going on, then let me know because I would love to kind of, pick your brain or whatever. Yeah, so basically FSD is $100 a month or $8,000 to virtually, own this whole thing. I don't know if it's going to be something that I want to own for the longevity of the 3 years that I am leasing this thing. It obviously depends on version 14 because right now you can't do anything on your phone. Not that you should, but if I want to play with a different song or send a quick text, just, I guess I could use the microphone function on my text or, whatever. But it's a bad, kind of thing when you got that eye in the sky and you'll know what I'm talking about. You'll see it right on the above the rear view mirror. You got that eye that's right above you and it has locking, on your eyes and it will let you know that you're distracted. You're looking to the left or the right or you're talking to someone. It will nag you and say, "Hey, put some force on the steering wheel, or let me know that you're still paying attention." So basically, what I'm trying to say is, it's kind of fun to drive the Tesla. I mean, I love autopilot. In the case of it just taking advantage of these like, if I'm going to my dad's, which lives about an hour away or whatever, I'm on a lot of long roads anyways. I could just tell it to put it on autopilot, and if it's on a long stretch of highway or road or whatever where there's no, like, negotiating traffic or, a lot of lefts and the rights and all this other stuff, then it's practically taking advantage of my entire drive. Now, obviously, if you live in the city where you're taking lefts and rights and going through all sorts of different lights and yields and all that other stuff, then obviously it would be, advantaged if you don't want to drive anymore to do FSD. So you just, like I said earlier, for me, I've got to make my own decision. I don't know what it is right now. Right now, it's kind of like $100 is a lot of money a month to spend at something that, I could probably take advantage of with autopilot. Now, like I said, I would be losing summoning, but then again, I don't use summoning that often. I don't think that that's a really necessity. Now, the auto park is a different beast because I've noticed, when I hit the auto park and I hit start, it does the like, okay, I've got to figure out where my parking spot is. And so it does it really slowly, especially in a congested parking lot. You're gonna have trouble backing in because Tesla won't allow you to just front face into a parking spot. You have to rear back into a parking spot if you do auto park. So it's really, to me, I don't know how faster it can be or if it would be any better or whatever way you want to put it. But I've kinda noticed that a lot of people are waiting on me to back into the parking spot. So I don't know if I really want the auto park. It's a nice feature, but I have no qualms because for me personally, I don't like door dings or anybody, doing any kind of shopping cart madness with the shopping cart, hitting my car or whatever. More less likely, and this is just my rule of thumb, there's less of a chance for my car to get hit by a door ding or a shopping cart or anything of that nature if it's parked in the extended parking lot rather than the front. I used to always go, "Oh, I got to get the first parking spot right next to where I'm about to go Chipotle or Walmart or wherever, Target, doesn't really matter." I always used to try to get to the front, and now I mean, for years, I've just parked in the extended and I never have to look for a parking spot. I noticed that, a lot of people are careless, so they'll door ding you. Obviously, you got Sentry mode, so I don't know. I just don't want to go through that hassle. So basically, what I'm trying to say is like I don't have to worry about parking. It's just like I can just pull into the back, or I park away from cars. Obviously, I don't mind if anybody parks right next to me. It's just like I've said before. You have less foot traffic. You have less chance that someone's going to door ding you. I mean, I take statistics in my head and the hypotheticals and the chances and all that stuff in the account, everything that I do. And it's been, enlightening, after, years of thinking about not just what am I doing, but thinking beyond like what if anything, just kind of like the level 2 charger that I want to install, but what if my house burns down and that's the cause of it? I don't want that liability. So guess what? I'm going to pay the extra couple $100 to put it in. Bada bing, bada boom, you have it installed as long as you own the house. And, it sucks to, put that kind of investment in, up front, but you have it for as long as you have the house. I mean, it's not going away. It's not like a monthly subscription or anything, and it just comes out of your electric bill. So, anyways, so yeah, I touched on this earlier. Charging and preconditioning your Tesla. The battery percentage is kind of a big deal. Obviously, 100% is for like long distance road trips. I never, ever, ever, and I'm starting to do this with my phone and any kind of battery that I can control. You never want to max it out. So, battery degradation, and Elon Musk has talked about this, but you never want to fill it up completely unless you're about to use it. So, you're allowed to go to 100%. He doesn't say don't go to 100%, but it really degrades the battery if you do that constantly, day in and day out, and you're just maxing it out. And it's like, for me personally, I don't like to be stuffed full where it hurts. That is the most annoying feeling where you're like, ugh, it just feels so awful. You're in pain or whatever because you ate so much. And that's kind of like what it probably feels like for the battery packs or the Tesla to feel. You want it, and this is what I think Tesla recommends on the infotainment thing is 80%. 80% is like, hey, I've got long range and, hey, I've got a pretty decent battery and you shouldn't have anything to worry about at that point. So basically, what I'm trying to say is for me personally, I like to just go off of my range as what do I have going on with my, type of scheduling. So if I know that I'm going to go out probably for a weekend and I'm not going to have a charger and, I'm about to, go all over the place and errands and, it's not going to be able to get charged for like a Saturday where you're going to the park and then you're going to go to, shopping and then you're going to go out with friends and you're not going to be able to see a charger until, you get home that night, you probably want it at 80%. You're going to be out all day. You're going to be running around the city and go to a different city. And then you're going to be, driving miles and you're not going to be able to see a charger. Then you want to, go to probably 80 or even 90% or whatever. Use the battery. It's there for you, but you don't want to just leave it at 100% because it's probably in pain, just like my little exaggeration with, being full. You want to treat your car like that same type of analogy where you want to just kind of lower the maximum unless you absolutely need it. Go on long road trips. Obviously, you want the most range so, you can, go to the next supercharger or whatever. But the problem of it is a lot of people are careless about this as they realize they have battery degradation because they've abused the battery. They go to superchargers and they go to the fastest charge. That degrades their battery. Or you max out the battery every time you fill it up or whatever, and you don't use it for a couple days or whatever. That ruins the battery. So personally, this is what I do. You don't have to, you do you, I'm doing me. I leave it at 50%. I have a different schedule, obviously and for the most, I'm just gonna go down the street and come back, and I went down to 39%. I was like, oh no, what shall I do? I went back home, put it back on the charger, it went back up to 50%. I mean, life goes on, it wasn't that big of a deal. Now on the flip side, you don't want to go below 20%, then it's really hungry for, juice or whatever you want to call it. So that is in the range of the battery degradation as well because you're stressing out the batteries and you're juicing out the juice out of it and you're stressing it out kind of thing. So basically it's the same thing for gas vehicles. You got a fuel pump, when you got to empty and you're running on fumes and whatever, your gas pump is stressing out to try to suck more gas that's not in the tank anymore. That you're stressing out your gas pump at that point. So basically, you never want it to go below 20% unless you're, hey, I've got an emergency or whatever you want to call it. But for me, I like this, just keep it at 50. If I got a longer day or I know that I'm going to go to the city or, that's a little bit farther or whatever, you just have to, prepare for that. That's my advice for you. If you don't have a Tesla and you don't know what's going on and you never had an electric vehicle before, but even if you had a EV and you just don't understand batteries, I mean, this is just a good rule of thumb, just keep, a quarter tank, in a gas vehicle or, keep 20%, as a, just kind of like you're like, hey, I need to start juicing up my battery, whether I go to a supercharger or whatever. You don't want it to, degrade, especially if you're financing you, and this is your Tesla. Like, you don't want it to go downhill faster than just the normal wear and tear kind of thing. You don't want to help it get worse. Is basically what I'm trying to say. So I'm hoping. Oh, and also before I get to the next point, also preconditioning, and this just makes sense. I haven't been through a winter. Obviously, I've only had a month, and we're still in the summer. We're getting into the fall, so basically cooler weather. Uh, it has a lot of sensors on the battery pack to heat it up or cool it down depending on the temperature. But when it's going to get colder, the batteries operate at a certain temperature. Obviously, the Tesla can warm up the batteries as it's being used. But the greatest thing that, one guy said on a YouTube show, I can't remember what YouTube show, but I was trying to learn how, what to do and what not to do and stuff. But he was saying precondition your car, turn on the AC or turn on the heat or whatever to warm it up, get the battery ready, about to, be used. So basically, you've got a battery that's going, okay, give me 5 seconds to get ready, give me a couple minutes to get ready, give me 15 minutes to get ready or whatever. So that way in the winter time, you don't have a cold battery and you got it warmed up, you got it ready to go. So that way you can increase the efficiency of that battery. That's one thing that I'll be doing if I've got a cold garage. I was thinking about getting some heating elements in the garage just to kind of keep it at like, it doesn't have to be at like a livable, 78 degrees or whatever in the wintertime, but just to kind of keep it at 60 degrees or 70 degrees or whatever. But I was just like, I don't know, it's kind of making me kind of nervous about the heating elements can cause fires and stuff. So I'm kind of nervous about, if I'm not home, I shouldn't probably mess around with having a heater on in the garage. It just sounds like a bad day, hypothetically. So basically, what I'm thinking is if I know that I'm about to go into the Tesla and I'm about to drive, then I need to give it probably 5 minutes to let the batteries warm up, get the Tesla warmed up enough that it recognizes that it's about to be used. So basically, what I'm trying to say is you just have to prepare. If you want to have this Tesla and have a good battery pack for years to come, then you treat it right. You don't want to abuse it. You don't want to be careless. You want to be able to, run that Tesla, it taking care of you, you taking care of it. It's a mutual relationship that for me, this is how I operate life, but whatever. Not trying to be philosophical with a battery pack. I'm just saying. Anyways, my next point is hopefully this upcoming version 14. I don't know too much about what they're going to add or what they've been working on. I know that everybody's expecting for version 14 to be almost like a real life uh, representation on FSD. I don't know if you've ever seen FSD. I'm gonna show it on the video, but it's black, and then it's got yellow lines with white lines on the outer ends, shape the road or whatever. But what it's going to do is use like computer graphics and intelligence and all this other stuff with the cameras and interpret the data to look like real life. Like there's a person on the side of the road, it's going to recognize that person and the road and and hopefully it just and I heard about Elon being blown away by version 14. He was sitting there like taking a test with version 14 and he was just like, man, it makes me wonder because, just recently, I don't know if it was a week ago or a couple days ago, but he reinvested a billion of his dollars back into Tesla through Tesla shares. And I don't know if this is because of his pay package or version 14 or a robo taxi or whatever, but he's got a lot going on, in Tesla world. That's going to be interesting. That's going to be my last point or whatever you want to call it. But version 14, I just hope that, there's going to be some significant changes like what I was saying about the school zone, what I was saying about, the blinker situation, or, just, a better human, type of recognition that, you know, obviously you've got version 14, it's all AI, it's all chip and cameras and LiDAR and all that talking to each other. It does not have a human element to it. I hope that version 14 incorporates a lot more human elements to Tesla so it's ready for that guy that's in the left hand lane in a 4-lane freeway wanting to exit in a split second because there are those morons that don't prepare. Hey, this is just me. Just miss the exit. That's all I've got to say about that. I was about to say some other stuff, but it's just as nice as I can be. Just miss the exit and then turn around and just claim, hey, I was not paying attention. You don't have to ruin everybody's like lives, property, and most of these times, you know, they just go through 4 lanes of traffic to exit. But what if there's a car that they didn't notice and they wreck and it turns into like, this whole jumbled mess? Now you've ruined people's lives because of, property and, what if you kill someone? What if you hurt someone? Like just miss the exit. I hate that's like the worst. It drives me nuts. Anyways, last point that I'm gonna hit on is robo-taxi in the future for Tesla. Like I was just touching on, uh, Elon Musk, he just put $1 billion back into Tesla. Like I said, I have no idea if it was because he knows something. Obviously, he's the CEO and he knows he's aware of what Tesla's about to, get into in quarter 4, whether it's the Model 2 that's coming out, or it's Robotaxi that he's really excited about. Maybe it's the semis that he's trying to, get together. Maybe it's the FSD version 14. Maybe it's a mix of all of them. I don't know. But uh I'm kind of interested to see what's going to happen with all this. I mean, he's wanted autonomous driving to where, you can get into a car and basically just go from point A to point B without even thinking about it. You can take a nap or whatever. So that'll be kind of interesting. Another thing that, he's apparently not criticized, but he's just like making people scratch their heads. China apparently has the Model YL, and he does not want to bring the Model YL to the United States. And everybody's just like, this would be the perfect car for people that want a 7-seater and, all these more luxurious captain seats with the armrest and, and so forth. And he does not want to bring, like, he's tweeted this or X'd it or whatever. He said that the Model YL is not coming to the US, not ever or whatever. It pissed off everybody. He really knows how to infuriate people or whatever. I don't like I said, this is not a, just like an Elon Musk, type of, I I think he's a very interesting guy. I mixed review on like whether or not he's Lex Luthor or if he's like, come with me and you shall live kind of person, I have no idea what kind of guy he is. All I know is he's just a very interesting guy. Um but yeah, I know that I've talked about Tesla for about an hour now. I don't know what else there is to talk about it. I just wanted to kind of give you my 2 cents on like what I felt over this last month. It's a very cool car. I love driving it. It's very fun to drive. Like you hit that gas all the way to the floor to the you know the the floor to the metal to the floor. You're gonna instantly. I mean, Sam was even doing this in the video. We didn't even floor it. I wanted to kind of see what his reaction. I think someone else did it for him, but I mean, you get that instant. torque, that acceleration. I mean, it is like a G, where you fly backwards and you're like, holy crap, that just happened. You're instantly one of the faster cars on the road at that point. It's a very fun drive. It handles good. You have so much customization. I mean, most modern cars probably have this kind of, satisfaction. But I love the idea that I can move my seat or the steering wheel, the mirrors, and you basically it's your car at that point. You have a driver profile, and the cool thing is, if you're married or you have a boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever you got going on, you have different drivers. You can set up different driver profiles. Like I said, if this is on other cars, I don't know, but I just find that to be the coolest thing ever is that I can basically, set my controls and it's set for me personally, like the air conditioning to whatever have you. And I just think it's so intuitive where you have so many customizable features and you have full control over it on your phone. I mean, the phone is and the app that you can look at oh, that's another thing for premium connectivity is you can look at your Sentry mode and your cameras if you have that. If you don't have premium connectivity, it's just $100 a year, which isn't that much to me. If you're buying a Tesla, you might as well, just dump $100 more, get that feature. But, just for peace of mind, if you need to look at your cameras, if it's parked at like, a suspicious area or whatever, you're just parking in a kind of a sketchy area or whatever, you want to be able to kind of look at your cameras. It's kind of a good, nice peace of mind kind of thing for me. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of give you my kind of input on like my first month with it, and that's one, the couple things that I've noticed. I mean, whether or not these things will be solved or not in version 14, or the things that I talked about with like, you have to invest a little bit more than just the car. You just want to be prepared, to kind of uh, afford all these extra like mobile 2 or level 2 charging. A lot of people don't think about how they're going to charge. I mean, obviously, if you're in an apartment, you don't really have a choice, but maybe, talk to your apartment complex. Maybe they have a parking area for EVs. Then you have to use the adapter. I mean, there's so many variables. You just have to understand your situation at hand. And, if you live at home and you got a garage and you can get the level 2, that would be the way to go. But I know that it's kind of costly to do that. Just know that level 1 charging is not the fastest. I mean, it'll take 8.5 hours just to do 10%. I just noticed that I mean, this was a brand new under 100 miles, and I was noticing that. I was like, oh my, thank God that I got the level 2 charger because now it does it under an hour. I think it's like 50 minutes when I go 10%. Um, but yeah, if you guys want to comment, like, and subscribe, or do whatever you want to do, I'm open door kind of situation where I want to, know what you guys thought about anything that I talked about. I'd love to, debate or talk about anything that I was wrong about, or maybe you thought this information was good and you're like, oh, thank you for this because you're in the market for a Tesla or thinking about getting a Tesla, maybe next year or something. Because I didn't even talk about this, but they're proposing a Model 2. I think that's what they're calling it. And basically the Model 2 is going to be like a $10,000 to $15,000 car, Tesla car, and it's gonna be I don't know if it's a two-door or four-door, but it's gonna be smaller than a Model Y and smaller than a Model 3 kinda thing situation. I don't know if it's a hybrid version of Model 3 and Model Y. I have no idea. I don't know much about it, but I just know it's supposed to be a stripped down version. So basically, Sam was even asking me because he was kind of interested in maybe getting a Model 2 next year, or maybe I don't know if when they're going to introduce it, but it's not going to have the rear display in the back for the people and the passengers in the back seat to where they could watch movies or have their separate Bluetooth is it's not going to be a moonroof over there. That'll just be a basic roof. They won't have all the bells and whistles with ventilated seats in the back and heated seats in the back or whatever. It'll be just basically, it'll have probably a dual motor, smaller battery range. I have no idea, to be honest. I can't speak too much. I didn't want to talk about the Model 2 because I just don't know much about it. Sorry. But hmm. I think that's all I wanted to talk about. So if anybody wants to collab with me, maybe you guys know more and you guys can call in or whatever. I'd love to, see what you guys, went through on your first month or year or whatever, or what to look for. Because I feel like, when I stepped into Tesla, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. Maybe it was the fault of my own by not researching enough or whatever. But, I just wanted to try to pass on some knowledge that, maybe, you know, Jimmy Bob or Susan or whoever is looking for a Tesla or whatever, maybe they come across this video and maybe it will save them. At least they won't be surprised. They'll be prepared, to kind of go, okay, that makes sense. I'm not surprised. They're not, putting down more money or uncomfortable about like, oh man, I didn't know that I had to pay for this, and all that stuff. So, anyways, yeah, I hope everybody's good. I hope everybody's happy. I know it's a Thursday and it's kind of a boring, middle of the week day, but hopefully you guys are smiling, having a good day. And I guess if there's nothing else, I'm gonna get out of here. See ya. So right now I'm about to unplug the charging situation over here. So over here you've got the level 2 charger. So level 1 is where you plug it into a regular outlet, but level 2 is where it goes into here, and you've got the EV. I've got the breaker installed by the guy the electrician that came in and installed it. So I have it hooked up right here so it's not on the ground, and then literally all I do is just push this button. It's super easy. So right here it lights up, turns white. That way you can just unplug it, and it's like super easy. It just automatically closes, and then you can hear the clicking. The battery is ready to drive. So the phone is the key. So you walk up and it automatically knows it's you because you got a driver profile. So hello and welcome to my garage, and I'm now in the Tesla. I just wanted to kind of share some features. I'm first time owner of the Tesla. This is all brand new to me. I've had it for about a month now, and it's super cool. You've got your driver profile that recognizes who you are, and so you can check your mirrors and all that. If you have a wife or anybody else that uses this car, you can set their profile and it'll automatically register the mirrors and the seat orientation, the steering wheel orientation, and so forth. So I think that's kind of cool that they have different driver profiles. You can control your car from this main screen or whatever. You've got navigation, so basically where you want to go is basically how you do this. So let's just say we want to go to Dollar General. You just hit navigate, and from this point you can do this right here where let's see. So well, it did have it. I shouldn't have went too fast, but you can see the LiDAR picking up like all the stuff with my house right here, and you got the grass right here, the two cars that are right next.
Right there.
Yeah.
Right there.
So basically, I like that this is super quiet. There's all sorts of the Tesla like guy that I test drove with. He was just like, it's a phone on wheels, and it really is kind of like that. It's super cool. It's just got so many features. I was doing it on the last video where you have this like AC and you got swing mode, how the fan will oscillate, and I think that's kind of cool. You got biohazard mode where it'll seal the car, so if it smells bad outside, it will seal the car. So if you have kind of like a manure smell or any kind of fire that's going on, you don't want to smell that stuff, this will seal like the car and use the HEPA filter and so forth. I think that's kind of cool. It's a nice little feature. But anyways, you got all your settings right here. That's where you do all your stuff, and you got your software where you got like all the software updates and stuff like that. Little button right here, and that'll start the FSD. You can see that the steering wheel is going to do its thing. Turns on the blinker automatically. It's got the little camera so you can see what's going on when you're wanting to get. It's more for like lane changing, but anyways. So we're going through, like it says attention monitoring unavailable. It means that I'm not paying attention to the road. It's probably about to nag me. You've you've got this bar right here that's kind of interesting because it shows the acceleration, and then when you're braking, it goes green, saying that the charge is going back into your battery. So this is more for like people that are interested in maybe getting a Tesla, like I was a month ago, but I've had it for about a month, and just learning the little things that I've noticed about this car that maybe people don't understand about the car. So I'll take it up off FSD. So let's just say that we're going up to a green light, you're driving it. So right now you're going to 0 miles per hour, and you'll see that H right there. That means that you don't have to do anything with the brake or the accelerator or anything. You're at a stoplight, it'll stop the car for you. So when you hit the green, you can just giddy up, and then when you come to a complete stop, you brake, and then you come to a complete stop. Now you get that H. Now you're in hold or whatever it stands for. So I think that's kind of cool. Any questions at you?
So we're back in FSD.
Yeah.
And you told me earlier, you don't actually have to hit, when you're driving it, not FSD, you don't have to hit the brake. You just let off the gas.
Yeah, so basically this is kind of like, I guess Tesla's kind of like regen braking and all that stuff. You hit the accelerator to go, obviously, and then you let off, you feather it off, and it'll start to brake. And it shows you on there. It's kind of a good, like, knowing how much you got to prepare, and you just got to train your mind a little bit differently, because your natural instinct is to move your foot to that brake pedal, but now you're just letting off slowly as you brake. You let off your foot off the gas pedal, and you start to brake.
So if you want to take over right now, for whatever reason, don't. I mean, because I want this FSD does. What would you need to do to take control?
You hit the brake, you hit the steering wheel, you can take over, and you just jerk the wheel. I've done it a couple of times just because I feel like I could drive better than FSD sometimes. But in sticky situations, you want to take control. You just hit the brake, or you hit this button that started you in FSD, or you hit the steering wheel really viciously, and it'll put you back in control. It'll beep at you, let you know you're in control again. Like it's just one of those things that Tesla doesn't want FSD to get in trouble. So you got the eye in the sky right here. If you're not paying attention, then it's letting you know, hey, you need to pay attention. It'll nag you right here. So basically, it's a pretty good system, but I feel like when version 14 comes out, it's going to be even better, because Elon Musk just invested $1 billion back into Tesla because he has so much confidence, whether it be in robotaxi or these Tesla cars that version 14 is about to.
So it's picking up the car in front of us right now.
Yeah, so it's called the lead car. That's what they call it when you're talking to engineers. So it'll basically go off of traffic flow. So it'll automatically have that safe distance behind the car, and it's using that to train the car to go, okay, that's how fast that car is going. So now it's looking but left and right. It saw that it was good to go. It's automatically picking up like all the street lines and all the cars, and there's the nagging that a lot of people don't like, but it's inevitable. I mean, we're pulling into Dollar General now, and this is the one thing that I'm kind of confused about, is when you go to Home Depot or Chipotle or anything like that, it doesn't park you anywhere. It just leads you to the front. So let's just see what happens when you just say, all right, I'm here.
We're pulling up, we're going to a spot, and we are in between handicap spots. It's definitely,
look at the park.
It's definitely not where we're supposed to be.
Okay, so I'm parking because it failed at parking for me, kind of thing. I think version 14 really needs to come out with a feature. So if you're navigated to Dollar General, Home Depot, or Chipotle, or wherever you're going, it needs to give you the option to say, okay, I'm going to pull you in, but where do you want to park, kind of thing. It should give you options.